Okay, so let's talk about The Strangers Chapter 1, because yes, indeed, 2 more chapters on the way. Whether people are hating or loving on this film, there's no denying that they have put so much faith into this that they think they're going to have a smash hit with the first one. They've already greenlit 2 other ones filmed, ready to go. And we'll see what happens this weekend. I mean, The Strangers really isn't having that much of a big barrier, right? I think Planet of the Apes made a pretty decent amount of money and they might get a bit of residuals. I don't think Back to Black is much of a obstacle, or especially because If and The Strangers are sort of targeting 2 different demographics. So we'll definitely see how the film will do. And, the budget's not that crazy. 8.5 million. I think that this film definitely makes at least 10 million, right? Opening weekend. It's one of those films, I think, that is trying to lure the people back with that 2008 sensationalism that was The Strangers. I mean, let me tell you, high school and during that time, and everybody was just talking about it when that movie came out. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, I got a giveaway. So all you have to do is be subscribed and comment below your thoughts on The Strangers, if you watch it or not, or if you enjoy the original more. And that gets you an entry into the giveaway. At 30,000, 2 winners will be announced, and you might be one of them. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell for more. So let's get into The Strangers, which starts off with a title crawl talking about how every 32 seconds, every 32 seconds, there is a violent crime of sorts. And while the time you were watching this, there's been 7. So yeah, very crazy indeed to start it off that way, right? This film starts off with the Strangers, Scarecrow, Dollface, and Pinup stalking their latest victim, chopping them up in the middle of the woods in broad daylight. And then we cut to the couple that is coming through to have a good time. Maya, played by Madelaine Petsch, and Ryan, played by Froy Gutierrez. The 2 have been together now for 5 years. They're celebrating their anniversary. They're taking a road trip. They're going to Oregon. And, it's going to be a good time. Maya is going to have her dream job soon. And Maya is a true crime fan. So, it's pretty much trying to tell us hey, true crime podcast. Let's not get into all of that right now. But let's get into this town of Venus, which is sort of playing in a way that this town might have something to do with these strangers or whatever. I don't know what exactly they're going to try and do with the strangers, if they're going to really try and explain who these strangers are, which kind of takes away from the mythos and the scare part of it, because 2008, it was scary to think that the strangers just did what they did just because they were home. That was one of the most unsettling parts about that film, is that people just want to kill you and they don't care. There's no reason to it. They just want to kill you. And if they're going to try and explain things, I don't know how that might be. Pretty much we see that this town is kind of suspicious and menacing of sorts. So we end up seeing they emerge out of eating. They stop by this town, like I said, and the car isn't working. We then see that the townspeople say, stay the night, while somebody comes and fixes the car, all of this. And they say that you can just rent this Airbnb that's around. The town hotel is currently closed or repairing. They miss all of the signs, even though that Maya reads true crime and listens to podcasts and all of this. The Eerie Kids, the BSA poster that is talking about missing people, and it's just something that we see happen. It's interesting, but it's a movie, and that's how we'll go with it. So we see that Maya and Ryan are dropped off at this highly secluded cabin, and they try to make the most out of this quiet isolation. They don't got a working fridge, so I don't know how good it really is, right? And they start to have these whole thing about their marriage and about not really getting a proposal or anything, even though they've already been together for some time. And it starts to sort of mimic what we saw in 2008's The Strangers, where the couple are arguing and all of this. Kind of has the same beats at the time. And then that's when we start to get the strangers coming, as the mysterious girl keeps on coming to knock at the door asking, is Tamara home? This is, of course, what we saw in the original film happening, and we start to see all of these shenanigans start to happen. And we then realize that Ryan has left his inhaler in the car, and he goes to get it. And, things are about to hit the fan. So some things start to happen to both Maya and Ryan as they're separated right now. Ryan is almost attacked by this guy named Rudy, and is later given the stink eye as well by some of the customers and cooks at this late night burger stand there. I'm telling you, these people, they might just be a key part to this whole trilogy, but we'll see. We see as Maya is also stalked by the strangers while she's alone in the cabin. She also finds some of the creepy masks stored in the closet, which means that we could potentially be having a Strangers team up of sorts, which I find interesting that they're going this route. I think that it's an interesting take as well, because you start off the 2008 Strangers and the 2018 Pray at Night with these like just random acts of violence that these people are doing for whatever reason. And now the Strangers trilogy seems to be turning it into a Wicker Man feel, where this town is just resentful of anybody who comes through and they want people out, no outsiders, things like that. And it's interesting to see it sort of evolve into this. We'll let them cook. We'll see what comes with the next ones. But for the most part, it's just kind of interesting. So as we find these masks in all of this, we then see Dollface turn up in front of her and she starts to run away and lock herself in. This happens to Maya. We see that Ryan returns and he says, "It's all in your head, your imagination." And Maya starts to relax. Gotta eat some burgers, right? Burgers always make it good. And then, of course, the scene, "That's not ketchup," happens. And we see there's a bleeding chicken hanging above the table. And it's too late. The Strangers are in. We then see a cat and mouse moment between the killers and the couple trying to survive. And we see that they, for the most part, they start to do many things they can. And they start to find whatever they can to fight back. Eventually, Ryan uses a shotgun. And then he just shoots. And he actually shoots Joe, who is the cabin owner. As we know, Maya had called the owner earlier about the fridge not working. Well, that's it for Joe, but we can still get out of here. And they try to take Joe's truck, and then the truck gets demolished by Scarecrow, who smashes their own truck into it. And see Ryan try to go up against Pinup Girl, only for Scarecrow to jump in. And Maya tries to escape, trying to use Joe's cell phone, but the signal's wonky. She ends up then getting knocked out cold by one of the killers before help can arrive. Then see as the killers tie both of them up, and they have them there together. And then we see Ryan propose. I guess they're saying this might be the only time left, we're about to die. And then we see that Maya accepts it before we see Ryan get killed. And then Maya gets killed right before she asks, "Why are you doing this?" And the infamous "because you were home" is changed to "because you're here." And then we see Maya get stabbed and kicked down. However, Maya then awakens in the hospital bed, seemingly was rescued by the authorities and taken to get some attention. We don't know exactly what happened to Ryan, which could mean that they might have actually died. And then we see that the film ends right there. In a post-credit scene, however, we see that Maya is not alone in the hospital bed and Scarecrow is just laying there with them. And that means that, yeah, Scarecrow's about to go after Miss Maya here. And potentially we could get the classic sequel that takes place in a hospital at the beginning, just like how we saw with Halloween 2. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with this film. I think a lot of people are definitely not feeling it from what I've seen online. I think the film currently doesn't have a good score. So about 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, which means 20% of the critics enjoyed it. And, we'll see what happens. I think that it was always going to be interesting to see what they were going to do with this film. Whenever they first announced it, it just sounded like a bad idea. I think The Strangers has such a cult following as well. And I think Pray at Night really was the way forward for this franchise. I really enjoyed that one a lot. So I was honestly very hesitant to hear they wanted to do the original again, because I think the original was held to a high regard as well by people, especially if you watched it in theaters at the time. It was just something else. And I don't care what anybody tells you, or if you watch it on TV and everything, it's not going to hit the same. Trust me. You had to have watched it in the theater when it first came out, because everybody in that audience went crazy the first time Scarecrow just appeared out of nowhere. And it was just something else. I can't explain it to you. You just had to have watched it. But we'll see what happens. This pretty much is setting up that the town may have something to do with this. The idea that there are other strangers masked, which means there are other strangers out there, could definitely point to a family being out there, or a group, maybe Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque, or The Hills Have Eyes. I don't know. There's no motive yet, and I'm pretty sure they're going to give us a motive, because there's 3 movies and they just can't keep telling us, I don't know why this is happening, we just want to kill. So we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on The Strangers. What do you think about that ending? Maya's not safe. We don't know if Ryan is gone or not for sure, so Ryan could definitely come in and save the day with Scarecrow there. My question is, how the hell did Scarecrow get in a hospital bed that fast? But, I'm not here to question things. I'm here to watch, be entertained, because that's what it is. So let me know what you think about it. But yeah, it seems that they are definitely setting up for the next film, which is going to be coming out in a couple of months, and a potential third film that is going to be coming out sometime this year, I hope. So a 3-part to all of this. Let me know what you think. Are you here for more Strangers, or are you over it? Comment below. But as always, like I said, we're running a giveaway, so be subscribed and commenting down below. You might just be a winner. And as always, stay safe, stay positive.